All right, so today what I'm going to be talking about is Kelly Thomas. Now, for those of you that have seen on Facebook, I've obviously posted a couple of times about this brutal murder. For those of you that don't know, Kelly Thomas was a homeless man that in 2011 was called. Had the police called on him for him like looking into cars and walking around down the street. And when the police arrived, they attempted to speak with him. You can actually see the whole thing on video, and you can tell he's really confused. He's schizophrenic. He's very, very confused. Obviously not posing a threat to anyone, though, not being violent, not being aggressive. He's trying to be compliant, but you can tell he doesn't really have full control of his body anymore. Like, they ask him to put himself in a certain position, and he doesn't seem to understand. The first policeman, Ramos, who was charged with second-degree murder and was just recently acquitted, even though this is all on tape, decided to start getting aggressive with him and attacked him. And he got scared, and he started flailing around. He never at once tried to hit the police. He never did anything violent. Simply, he was frightened. So two policemen tackled him, and they're beating him. They're tasing him. They tased him 5 times. 5 times they tased this guy. Then they're hitting him with a metal mag light. And then 4 more policemen show up, and while they're holding him on the ground, they beat him. They beat him to the point that he ends up dying in the hospital a few days later from that beating. And they were acquitted for this. And I mean, anybody who watches this, I don't understand how you could be a human being and not be disgusted at this entire situation. It fills me with a level of rage that it gives you that feeling of wanting to go and get justice yourself. And after that initial feeling and that rage kind of washed through me, I really started to pay attention to these videos of people that were there. And almost as disgusting as these 2 cops were, are the people who stood on the sidelines. And the reason I say that is it's not that these people were evil or that they were cheering the cops on while they were beating this poor man to death. It's the fact that no one did a damn thing to stop it. There was a crowd watching this. There's over 3 videos of people videotaping this, and nobody stepped in. There's an old saying that says the only thing that evil needs to conquer the world is for good men to do nothing. And this is exactly what that quote is talking about. Think about it. There's a crowd of people and nobody does anything. Now, maybe that's partially this fear of the fact that they're police. Maybe if they weren't police, somebody would have stepped in and do something. And I'd like you to ask yourself this question. What would you have done? What would you have done if you had stood there that 20 feet from you watching a man get beat to death by the police? Would you have just simply filmed it and said things like these people did? Oh, I can't believe this is so horrifying. They're hitting him too much. They're doing this. Or would you have done something? Well, I'll tell you what I would have done. I would have done something. I wouldn't have sat by and watched a man be beat to death. I don't give a shit if it's a cop. I don't give a shit who is doing it. There is a moral obligation that we all have to not stand by and let something evil happen before our eyes. And you know what? Maybe something would have happened to me as a result of it, but I would have tried to do something. And I hope that other people would have tried to as well. The first thing I would have tried to do is I would have tried to reason with those police officers, tried to go over, get them to calm down, get them to stop. And if they wouldn't have done it then I would have tried to interpose myself between them and this man. And if they wouldn't have stopped then I would have fought back. But I would not have just sat there and thought, oh, this is horrifying. What good did you do? What good did any of you do that stood on the sidelines and let this happen? I would have rather been beaten to death with him than let that just happen. There is a moral obligation we all have, and it's the thanks to people not being willing to do anything about it that we have the society that we have today, that we have psychopaths working for our police departments, that these men can go to court and have it on camera that they beat a man to death, a man who is helpless. 6 men. How many freaking people does it take to hold one man down? My stepfather taught martial arts. And you know what? It really only takes one person who knows what they're doing to pin another man to the ground. They have handcuffs. They have the ability to... They taser him 5 times. You really need to do that? Anyway, I want you to really think about what you would do. And if you would have been one of those people that would have stood on the sidelines because you were afraid of the consequences, then you need to start reevaluating what you're doing with your life.